Welcome back. We are 90 minutes past 9, and we're going to be having a very, very interesting conversation right now. Last week, Monday, the UN Security Council asked its membership committee to review the Palestinian Authority application to be made a full member state of the United Nations. The Palestinian Authority is currently a non-member observer state like the Vatican, and we'll be chatting a bit on this with Imran Sabroti about the how important is it for us, the supporters of Palestine, and people that are actively involved in raising awareness on Palestine, to know and understand, how important is it for Palestine to pursue full United Nations membership. Imran is joining us via StreamYard. Walaikum salam, Imran, and Jazakallah so much for joining us. A very, very important step that the Palestinian Authority is taking. If they are accepted, as a full member state of the United Nations, what would this entail?
Well, I think it's a very, very important step for, firstly, Assalamu alaikum and Jazakallah. Thank you, Salaila, for having me on Salam Media and to connect with your audience. I think, firstly, we must understand that the very fact that Palestine is not recognized as a full member state of the United Nations means that it is not in the family of a valid and a legitimate state, a nation within the United Nations. It hasn't been recognized. Its sovereignty as a nation within the world hasn't been recognized. And this is very, very crucial in the context of what's happened in the last 6 months. We must understand that there has been this two-state solution that has been mooted throughout the world. Everybody's talking about a two-state solution, the state of Israel, and then, of course, Palestine as a separate state. And it's been going on for generations. And this has been the conversation that's been taking place. South Africa, for example, its official position, it supports a two-state solution. Now, what's scary about this entire thing and why this is very important is that what we're seeing happening in the last 6 months, it appears, and this theme and this narrative has been projected for a while now, it appears that that conversation of a two-state solution is something that the Zionists might be pulling away from. It appears that they might be moving towards a single-state solution with a non-existent of Palestine as a state. And that's what's scary, because the fact that this has been on the back burners for so long, and against the fact that so much has taken place in the last 6 months, you begin to ask the question, is there still a possibility of a two-state solution? Or are the Zionists actually mooting for a single state, and that is the state of Israel? Hence, this application that's been presented again is very, very critical, because it's imperative that Palestine be recognized as a sovereign state of the world within the United Nations to secure its continuity and its existence.
Palestine went, on the same feet. I think it was in 2011 when, they made a similar application, to be recognized as the UN, full member state. That was denied. What hope do we have right now that there might be any chance that the UN Security Council can assimilate Palestine into a full member state of the United Nations, especially, looking at the current affairs, of today and what's currently happening 6 months since the 7th of October?
One can hope that the element or the world view on Israel, the Zionists, has changed. Their real intentions and their genocidal intention has been seen and by many and all nations of the world. In fact, there is been this pull by many nations of the world to support the plight of the Palestinians. One can hope that if there was a time that we can gain the sympathy, if I can use that as a term, of the people of the nations of the world sitting on United Nations, it's now. It is now more than ever before necessary to secure the future of the people of Palestine, to give them their sovereign recognition. So to answer your question, I am optimistic that against the backdrop of the genocide that's taken place, it softened the hearts, especially of those who sit on the United Nations Security Council, those who have 5 veto powers. It softened their heart. And more so, of the 15 members, just to give context to how the whole process works to your
Mhm.
viewers, is there is a United Nations Security Council has 15 members, of which 9 members must vote or support the application. Of those 9 members, 5 hold a veto power. A veto power means that they can decide, we're not allowing this for their reasons, and that is it. It doesn't go any further. And of the 5 members, who are those 5 members? It's United States, it's Russia, it's China, it's Great Britain, and it's France. Now, the one that has taken a position that's known since 2011, and that is concerning, is America. America's position has been they are not going to support any such application unless Palestine negotiates its statehood with Israel. Now,
Mm.
such a condition it's almost unsurmountable. It's not something that is likely to happen where Israel, in all good faith, is going to sit and negotiate, because as I had alluded to in my opening comments, I'm truly beginning to wonder whether Israel is even committed to a two-state solution, or are they vying in their context for the first prize of a single state of Israel and no Palestine at all. So this is a very, very unreasonable expectation of America. And that is why, there's a call to action from us. United for Palestine yesterday sent out a communication that tomorrow is very critical. You cannot hold a gun to the head and say, go negotiate your state with your enemy. And if your enemy agrees, then we will support it. That cannot happen. We need to seek justice. As justice seeking people of the world, we need to ensure that the sovereignty of Palestine as an independent state is enshrined tomorrow. And that is why there's a huge call to action by us, Salailo.
Mm, mm. And speaking on that, I think since South Africa has actively and been one of the standout leaders when it comes to the support of the Palestinian cause and its people, every South African would be asking the question, what role can the state of South Africa play in making sure that the state of Palestine does get that full member status in the UN?
Well, I think South Africa are the friends of every oppressed nation in the world. And that's something we really must take a bow as South Africans, that we are indeed blessed, and Allah has blessed us to be South Africans, in that our country will support all the oppressed nations of the world. So without a doubt, in fact, this call to action was brought to our attention by none other than the icon of human rights of the world, and that is our Honorable Minister Naledi Pandor. When she was in Durban over the weekend on Palestinian solidarity, she was engaging with students at DUT, and she brought it to the attention of everybody that 18th of April is a significant day, that as civil society, as South Africans, and as people of the world, tomorrow is a day of call to action. We need to go out in our numbers. And of course, South Africa supports that. As I said, it's a call to action that's come through by Minister herself, who's encouraged us to get involved, to rally behind the people of Palestine, and to take to social media, to take to Twitter storms. I mean, United for Palestine will be doing a peaceful picket outside the United States Embassy here in Durban. And that's what we need to do tomorrow. We really need to keep up. In fact, from today, we need to step up the pressure on the powers that be, that when it comes tomorrow, we cannot accept no for an answer. Just as how America had no choice in the last ceasefire resolution, they abstained. They had no choice. They did not exercise their veto vote as they've done in all previous ceasefires. It is my hope that come tomorrow, if we put sufficient pressure, the voice of reason, the voice of humanity should prevail and must prevail, and hopefully America will not exercise their veto to that resolution.
Mm. You touch on the last vote, the ceasefire vote in the UN Security Council, where the United States of America didn't exercise that veto power and they chose to abstain. In a greater scheme of things, you did mention that it was probably the first time when they didn't veto a ceasefire when it comes to Palestine. What picture does that draw in a greater scheme of things? What little nugget of wisdom can we take from that, looking at how things are panning out right now?
I think we take from that, and we have to take the narrative of hope. We have to take the narrative of hope, because if we take any other narrative, it doesn't give us hope for the future. Because the fact that America abstained, it means it means that we as people of the world, ordinary citizens of the world, are doing something right. Within America, you have a vast majority of American, peaceful Americans are putting pressure. America has been called out by nations of the world, by people of the world, and America realized we cannot be caught on the wrong side of history. And that's not because they have a great sense of conscience. No, it's because people like you and I, Salilo, people around the world, we've decided to stand up and say enough is enough. We're calling you out. And if you go against the morality of the world, history will judge you on the wrong side. So I certainly see that as a narrative of hope. And I'd like to take that hope into the future, because that's what the people of Palestine need. That's crucial to the existence of Palestine, is hope. And that hope comes from my activism, your activism, and the activism of the people of the world, that Palestinians, you are not alone. We will walk this journey with you.
And just lastly, before I let you go, you mentioned just how historic tomorrow's day is. You also mentioned that there's also calls of actions in Durban. For our listeners that are there, where will you guys be? How do they get involved, and when and how do they get there?
Well, our the membership, myself, my president Abdul Valodia, and members of the executive of United for Palestine will be picketing at the United States Embassy between noon and about 2 p.m. That's during the lunch hour, when there are a lot of people going around. That's what we're planning to do. So our request is, wherever you are, let's start from today. Let's start sending messages to the United States ambassador to the United Nations. Let's start sending messages to all those 5 veto nations. Let's find out who are those 15 nations that make up the United Nations Security Council, because we need 9 votes tomorrow without any veto. So let's start writing to them. Let's, wherever there may be an embassy of those veto countries, especially American embassies, let's try and be there. Let's try and demonstrate. Let's make the noise, and let's be serious. As I mentioned, we cannot afford for Palestine not to be recognized, because that supports the long-term plan of the Zionists ultimately to take over all the land of the people of Palestine.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Imran Soprati, the Secretary General of the United Nations, United Nations, United for Palestine. Very, very important what's happening tomorrow. United Nations must be at everyone's,
Yeah, yeah.
back of their mind. But I think we're going to leave it there. I think a very, very, very important call for action there for people to get involved. I'm sure after a decision has been made, we'll be catching up with you just to reflect on who voted how, and maybe celebrate inshallah the fact that maybe the Palestine
Inshallah.
Authority will be inducted as a full member state of the United Nations.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much, Salala, for having me on the show. And inshallah, we'll certainly connect as soon as we get further feedback.
I mean, we're going to leave it there with the Imran Subrati. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, as important as international relations are, local politics are also important. We'll be analyzing the emergence of small parties, or new parties, because they don't like to be called small parties anymore. New parties that will be on the ballot paper come the 29th of next month, when South Africa will be heading to the polls, to the elections. We'll be speaking to independent election analyst Michael Atkins about some of these these parties? What are they offering? What's new? How important is it to have them on the ballot box? Is it a sign of a healthy democracy? The fact that we have so many new entrants, participating in the upcoming elections. We'll be dissecting all this and more with Michael Atkins after the break.